Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Club Deck Corner here on Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. We are live on YouTube and on X tonight, so make sure you get yourself over to the YouTube channel, get yourself subscribed, get yourself involved in the live chat for what once promises to be, well, I'd say a more positive podcast than maybe you've seen previously this season. I am Scott Carney. Joining me tonight is Ali Pearson. Ali, how are you?
Yes, very well. Obviously, you and Scotia done the post-match after Falkirk, which was absolutely bloody dreadful, which I know we'll discuss. But yeah, I know you did the reaction, Carney, in terms of Russell Martin being dismissed as Rangers manager. I would have came on, but I left my bloody charger at work for my laptop, so it was dead. But he's finally gone. Obviously, we'll get into it. Too late for me in terms of certain aspects of the season, but he's gone. I mean, we look for the next Rangers manager. So, yes, we'll be linked with all sorts in the next week, I'd imagine.
Yes, we will be. First of all, Stanley Field, thank you very much for becoming a YouTube member. Very much appreciated. Thank you for the support. And yes, there's obviously there's so much to get into tonight, mate. Things are going to gather pace now. But ultimately, you're correct. The decision that has been made is the correct one. And we finally got there. Better late than never, I suppose. Better late than never. We'll take it all the way back, Ali, first of all, and we will start at the game on Sunday. The what I called the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of our performance against Falkirk. It wasn't the only. Big Brian's been a member for 9 months. Crazy. Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you very much for this continued support. That game itself is not the reason Russell Martin got sacked. However, that game is everything and all the reasons that Russell Martin got sacked. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that game at the weekend, I said on the Friday, I thought Rangers may nick it, but I thought it would be a very, very stuffy game, similar to Livingston. And if you look at the game, it was very similar to Livingston in terms of how the game went. But yeah, it was
exactly the same as a Livingston game, apart from we didn't score a winner. That was exactly the same.
We didn't nick it. Yeah. I would have said we were better in the first half against Livingston than we were against Falkirk, though. But yeah, he wasn't sacked solely on that result. I mean, he's the worst. He's got the worst record in the history of all Rangers managers at 29%, whatever it is, win ratio out of 17 games. We were going nowhere, Carney. That game against Falkirk. I mean, this is Falkirk who's come up from the Championship last season. Let's not remember that. And we've played the lower end teams, if you want to say, this season so far. We've not been away to Parkhead. We've not been away to Easter Road, Tynecastle, Pittodrie. We've not been away to Dundee United either. Rugby Park, the so-called harder games. And that game on Sunday was, again, we don't start the game. Falkirk were all over us. We were just guys blocking shots all over the shop. It was shambolic, I thought, that first half. Go out to jail, I thought, with a decent goal, decent, well-worked goal. And then you see in the second half, nothing happens. And I think the second half, we had, I don't know what it was, one shot or something, which is dreadful. Rangers have a -1 goal difference, I think, in the league at the moment. We sit 8th. We don't look like scoring. And I don't know if you'll probably come on to what Russell Martin said after the game, but they couldn't go on any longer, Carney. And you've seen with what happened with the support, and if you disagree, it would agree, whatever, but you could see they couldn't go any longer with it, and they had to do it. My only thing about it, Carney, is it should have been done weeks and weeks ago when the season was still salvageable in terms of the league. The league for me, and folk will say either still in our 30, 31 games, what it is left. I think the league's done. It's done. So it's too late in terms of the league for me, but ultimately they've came to the right decision, Carney, and he's gone. And I think he'll find it extremely hard now. I see he's been linked with a Luton job, but to get back into football at a decent level.
I can't disagree with much. I will say in terms of the league, see if the other side of the city were in great form, mate, I would probably agree with you, but I think the chances are they could slip up. Don't get me wrong, they are still finding ways to win football games, but I think they could still slip up.
Are they going to drop 9 points? So I know what you're saying, but and I have discussions with Paul at my work, who you know is a season ticket holder at Parkhead, and I always say to him, but 9 times out of 10, Celtic will find a way to win a game.
Yeah.
And I just don't see them. I know we don't talk about Hearts. We're 11 points clear as at the moment. We seem to dismiss it, but Celtic won't drop 9 points, and we won't. I just don't see it.
Well, it all depends on the next manager's going to be, I suppose. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's... History will tell you that Hearts will tend to fall away because it's happened to previous clubs. I get that. But, yeah, and I don't want to be disrespectful to them. They're 11 points ahead of us, as you rightly mentioned, mate. So, I mean, I suppose I'm trying to build a little bit of hope for myself, mate, in terms of domestic football, or at least the league campaign anyway, is hoping that something may change. Because I genuinely believe now, no matter who is appointed as Rangers manager, we'll see an upturn in performances, because it can be difficult to improve on what we've seen. The biggest problem that Russell Martin has, what I feel he has anyway, is he got to the point where he started to believe his own chat. I was going to say another word, but it's before the word I said, before his own chat, mate, his own absolute waffle that used to come out his mouth about. Even on Sunday, he said, "Oh, we were okay. We started okay in the second half." What game are you watching, mate? Like, generally, what game are you watching? This is a guy that had blamed mentality, and he's blamed the mentality of a team in 4 different teams that he's been at. He's blamed mentality of the players, and it's a guy that was reluctant to take any sort of responsibility for what was actually happening on the football park. There's no going away from it on Sunday, and again, no disrespect to Falkirk. Rangers should be winning that game. We should be at least chapping on the door a number of times. Ali, we shouldn't be having 2 shots on target in 90 minutes against Falkirk. It's just... and with no disrespect to them, I generally mean it, because fair play to Falkirk, generally fair play to them. They deserve all the credit for taking their opportunity. But it was just, you can't sustain that. We can't continue on like this. And no matter how much you would like us to believe there was improvement, there was zero improvement. And if anything, we are now a worse team than what we were when he took over.
Yeah, and I was going to say well done to Andy McDonald being a new member, but strap yourself in, Andy. It's the way he talked after games and before games, it was as if he was watching a different movie to us. And I listened to him after the Falkirk game because I wanted to hear what he had to say, and he was coming out with the usual buzzwords that he's got in terms of he'd said he'd seen the performances have improved, and I was like, where's he seen this from? He said he didn't feel like Falkirk were going to score. Well, everyone knew they were going to score.
They had about 40 crosses or something in that game.
Yeah,
I think we all knew that he was on the wall.
Yeah, and we were lucky to be 1-0 up the first half, if you've been honest about it. He's a guy that blames everyone bar himself, can't he? He's never really once come out and took major responsibility. In fact, I seen actually Stephen Presley come out after Dundee get thumped off Aberdeen at the weekend 4-0, and he came out and held his hands up and went, "I take full responsibility for this. I got it wrong. I got the tactics wrong, etc." You never heard Russell Martin say something like that, and he never would. He would blame all sorts, mentality, whatever it was. He even blamed the fans at times in terms of we were getting top of the fans at Ibrox in particular. So, he's not a very good football manager, can he? And you can see that on the park with these players. They kind of looked as if they chucked it a bit against Falkirk. I think they knew the writing was on the wall for the manager. They've got to take responsibility as well, Karen. Let's not miss these players too. Rangers have spent the best part of £20 million, whatever it is, in the summer, bringing in an £8 million striker, Miovski at $3 million, Ant-Man at $4 million. You could go through them all. Gassama, whatever he was, Asgard, $4 million, centre half, $3.5 million, who kind of get in our bench at the moment. They've spent good money, Rangers, and they look worse. It's one of the worst Rangers teams I've seen in years. I do think there's potential in there for these players, for a manager to come in and get a tune out of them, but Russell Martin was coaching everything out of these players, Carney. They just looked confused when they went on a park. They looked scared of what were they meant to do, etc. They need to get back to basics. That's what they need to do. I just thought Falkirk at the weekend, Falkirk probably deserved to win the game. And again, if it wasn't for Jack Butland, they probably would have won it. But again, we're coming up against teams that are doing the basics, working harder, working for their manager, and we just look lethargic. You would have thought we were the championship team on Sunday that had just been promoted.
Yeah, mate, I can't disagree. Again, generally can't disagree with any of it. That we couldn't continue on. It really couldn't continue on like that. He's got the worst win rate of all Rangers managers, including part-time interim managers. Oh, just quickly, Gordon, thank you very much for the super sticker, mate. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's the worst win rate of all times, and it's the problem with these managers that have this ideology, have this concept, have this plan A, and plan B is just to do plan A better, and the just sheer ignorance at times from them, standing there trying to tell me that I'm seeing something that I'm not. And if you're doing that to fans, you will get found out, you'll get hounded out, because you are gaslighting fans, and you can't do that. You literally cannot do that. We're not silly, we're not stupid. We know exactly what is going on, and unfortunately Sunday was just an accumulation of all of it. I 100% agree regarding the players. The players should not miss any much criticism on Sunday, but we as fans are just so fed up with the man. We're so fed up with Russell Martin at that point that the players will escape. The players, let's not be quiet about it. The players knew he was getting sacked. They were looking at him going, "You're going to get sacked." There was actually a moment in that second half, I don't know if anybody else seen it, as the players were coming back out for the second half, Raskin and Majovsky were talking to each other with their hands over their mouth, and both of them were like shaking their head, and I was like, And I know that's me putting two together and coming up with 5, but I thought they've come out of there going, what is he talking about? What is this guy? What is he speaking about? Doesn't excuse the fact that they chucked it under him. It's never a good look. However, it's led to the players. It's led to the removal of Russell Martin. After the game, as you say, Ali, there was a protest by the fans in terms of trying to stop the team bus from leaving, etc. Russell Martin was then pictured crossing the pitch on his own to leave the ground on his own. And I'm not going to lie, and I'm not saying I knew anything different, but at that point, I thought he has to have been sacked now. There is no way that he's crossed over there, be it safety concerns, nonsense like that. There is no way that he's leaving that ground without being on the team bus if he hadn't been sacked. And then it started to gather pretty quickly, mate, that it was rumoured that Rangers were looking to review it, and then all of a sudden he was going to get sacked in the morning, and then Rangers come out and released a statement to confirm that Russell Martin had been indeed sacked as Rangers manager. Ali, you're right. It's far too... It's so overdue. It's ridiculous. And look, we always say it, mate. It's not nice in terms of a fan that you've got to... We are now back at the point where, again, we are searching for a manager yet again. This has become our annual thing, mate, where we sit and do a podcast and discuss who the next Rangers manager is going to be. However, and as you say, the whole guy losing his job thing, I'm pretty sure Russell Martin's going to do pretty well out of it. It's one of those times that I'm looking at it and going, I'm so happy to see the back of him, like genuinely so happy to see the back of him. And soon, mate, we'll not need to discuss this guy ever again, hopefully. Like, we'll be able to move on from this. But there was just no way, after that result on Sunday, there was no way we can continue on. Genuinely none. There was also rumours before it that he'd already been told that, by the way, you are not going to be about here much longer. You are going to be sacked regardless of the result on Sunday. 1 win and 7 in the league, mate. Sitting 8th, as you said, 11 points behind Hearts, 9 points behind Celtic. Couldn't buy a goal at times, genuinely. Well, -1, as you say, goal difference, conceding more shots on target than we are making ourselves. A team that was struggling to create chances as if it found it impossibly difficult to create any form of chance, and a manager that was rigid and stuck in his system. It was always going to end really one way. But when you heard what was your thoughts when you heard the announcement, mate? What was your feelings when you heard that finally Russell Martin had been sacked as Rangers manager or head coach? Rangers head coach.
I was obviously the rumour started, as you say, and when you seen him walking to that car, it
And
reminded
then
me of
I started messaging, getting excited, so you knew something was happening. I was like,
yeah.
Ali, reply to me.
It reminded me of I think it was Jim Goodwin when he was Aberdeen manager.
Yeah.
And there was one of him where he walked off the park like that. I don't know, it's when they get beat off. Oh Christ, who was the mob in the lower divisions to get beat off the Scottish Cup? That was a Darvel or something. I don't know if it was that one, but
Darvel, I think it was, mate.
yeah, I don't know if it was that one, but it reminded me of that. And obviously, ultimately, Jim Woodham got punted for Aberdeen then, but it had to go, Carney, for the sake of the fans. An international break coming up as well. In terms of making they should have made the change the last international break, but they've got a slight bit of time to do it. Dundee United come to Ibrox as the first game we're back. If they hadn't have bumped them and we go to Dundee United at Ibrox, God knows what Ibrox would have been like, Carney. Yeah, I think a lot of guys, even me and you, that go in thick and thick out would be thinking.
I would have struggled
to go, and I would have hated to see what Ibrox would have been like then, and I wouldn't have fancied it either. But ultimately, I was happy. At the very beginning, us as fans didn't want Russell Martin. We all said it when the names were getting touted about. It was Ancelotti, Russell Martin. I think Gerrard was the three that were getting touted at the time. And Russell Martin was the last on my list of them that I wanted. And when he was appointed, obviously as a Rangers fan, you want to get behind the manager. You want to back him. We did. We wanted to back him. I remember the first game we played in the League, Carney, against Motherwell in the first half. There was bits in that first half where we looked at each other and went, I can see it. But obviously from the second half of the Motherwell game onwards, we've just regressed at a major, major rate. And he just had to go. I would have loved him to work. I would have loved his philosophy to work up here, but it just didn't. And the board and the guys that hired him, Carney, I know you'll probably comment, they need to take major responsibility, because he's went through reportedly 7 interviews, and it took months to hire the Rangers manager last season, and they've come up with Russell Martin. He's obviously sold them. Well, he sold them a dummy, but he sold them a dream of how they want to play in Scotland. But Scotland's quite a unique place, Carly, where to play. You see players from down the road coming up here and struggling, etc. It is a hard place to play, especially at Rangers and Celtic as well. It's very hard. He did say he'd been here before, Russell Martin. He got it, but he never got it at all. He never understood the fans. He never understood it at all. And he's an absolute disaster of an appointment for us. And it's put us back, because when we started this season, there was optimism in terms of the new board, the new owners, money to spend. Russell Martin kind of took the wind out of our sails when he was appointed, if we're being honest about it. And ultimately, his fans have been proven correct. And if us as fans can see that Russell Martin, we knew at the start, was never going to work, it worries me about that board, who they're going to pick next. That's my major worry, because they got Russell Martin extremely wrong in terms of the next appointment Rangers manager. So that's my big worry, Carney, in terms of who they appoint as the next manager.
Russell Martin, when he was appointed, I said, right, well, I didn't want him. I was never optimistic about him, but you do the thing as you do as a fan of your football club. You go, right, well, he's here now, so there's not much you can do apart from just get behind the guy. And of course I wanted it to work, because I wouldn't be sitting having this conversation where we're looking for a 45th manager in the last 3 months, but we are. That's the state that we're in, and that's where we're at. And the argument of we can't keep sacking managers disappeared because you can sack the wrong manager, and he was very much the wrong appointment. It didn't fit from the start. From a guy that had played here as well, how much he underestimated the job in front of him, and how much he underestimated how not little time. I think he got more time than he got way more time than he should have. But his inability to read the room and to think to himself, hang on a second, this isn't working. I'm going to need to change something. And I think it does, mate. I think, as you mentioned, I don't want to repaint and you just said, he just isn't a very good head coach. He's not a very good manager. He's not a good man manager. He's not a very good talker in front of the camera. He constantly contradicts himself. He constantly, I heard a saying on, it was Heart and Hand's flagship pod by David Graham, that he kept covering himself in his own shite, and I thought that's pretty good. That I thought that's quite a spot on analogy of what was going on with Russell Martin. But the biggest thing that, away from the football, which was turgid, horrific, poor, uninspiring, I mean the most like blunt attacks we've ever seen, really, as a Rangers fan base. It's the worst team I've ever seen in my lifetime, for sure. And you literally consider everybody that you've seen in that, even through the banter years. It was shocking, really terribly bad. And when Russell Martin came in, he said, and I know I said this the other night on the reaction pod after he was sacked, but he never did anything to endear himself to the fans. No. He just constantly shrugged his shoulders, picked his teeth like he was picking his Sunday roast out, and I was like, what are you wanting us to like about you? You're playing football that we're struggling against teams like Motherwell, like Livingston, like whoever other team that we've played, apart from one 30 minutes that we've seen, 40 minutes maybe that we've seen against Victoria Pilsen, and a wee bit against Hibs. There's been nothing for us to go at. Yet the guy standing there shrugging his shoulders as if to say, all I need to do is win football games, but you're not winning football games. And yeah, even the Raskin fiasco and all that now, you can see from quite early on that the team saw through him. I think the players saw through him as well, and I think he's been found out. I genuinely do. I think he will struggle to get employment. I don't see anybody really rushing to get him, apart from a lower league team, maybe. As I know, he's been linked with a few jobs, but I very much doubt it. For his own sake, I think he should sit down and reevaluate what he wants to do with the rest of his life and his tidy payoff that he's going to get from us. That's for absolute certain. But it was just the wrong appointment, the wrong guy, the wrong place, wrong time. And yeah, it was a disaster really from start to the end of it. But he left, and we are now in the search for a new manager. And before we come to that, mate, there was an open letter from the USA. So Rangers chairman Andrew Kavanagh and vice chairman Parag Bharati have written the following open letter to supporters. Dear supporters, as you've seen by now, we are making a change at Rangers and have parted ways with Russell Martin, Matt Gill and Mike Williamson with thanks for their hard work. When we took over the club this summer, we shared what we want to build for Rangers, to win trophies in Scotland and to be able to compete at a high level in Europe. We know achieving these goals will take time, but our performances and results have not been good enough. We know you are frustrated. We are too. We did not get this right, and it's our responsibility to fix it and get us back on track. A rigorous, thoughtful recruitment process is already underway, and we are treating it with the urgency it deserves. The two of us are deeply involved, and the evaluation will have our full attention until we are confident we have a leader with the character and skill set to deliver results. Moving forward, we are fully confident in our players who possess the talent and determination to succeed. At the same time, a great deal of important work is progressing across the club, building a stable leadership and football structure under Patrick and Kevin's guidance, advancing detailed plans aligned with our long-term strategy, and beginning the early stages of investment planning for Ibrox. Your focus will rightly be what is happening on the pitch, but this work also matters, and it will help lay the foundation for success in the future. Change is never easy, but we are not deterred by hard work. In fact, we see it as a great opportunity ahead. The season is not over, and we have plenty to play for in all four competitions. Together, we are committed to delivering the performances and results that you can be proud of. Your loyalty to this club, through thick and thin, is something we do not take for granted. We see the effort and emotion you put into supporting Rangers, and it drives us every day. We intend to earn your trust because we all share the same goal, restoring success to Rangers. Andrew and Parag. Ali, your thoughts on that?
I did text you when the announcement was made, Carney, and I did say that I would like the owners to come out and apologise to a point in terms of saying we got it wrong. They pretty much said it in that statement, Carney, saying we got it wrong. Doesn't make it any better, but at least they can acknowledge that, yeah, we maybe underestimated Scottish football and Rangers potentially in terms of this guy they've brought in terms of the way they want to play, etc., which you can't do in Scotland. So, yeah, I thought it was all right. Obviously, they mentioned, what do you call him, Patrick Stewart and Thelwell down the bottom of it. and also says that they will be heavily involved in the next Rangers manager, which is interesting because they too, in terms of Thelwell and Patrick Stewart, have to get it right because they're on thin ice as well at the moment, especially Patrick Stewart. I'd love to know what the fan, when he said to that fan, who do you want as the next Rangers manager, what he actually said to him. But aye, I thought it was fair enough, but words are cheap from you, Carney. They've said it, go and appoint a proper Rangers manager. I don't want another bloody project manager coming up here. I don't want to hear of a guy coming up here who's got ideas and we're going to do this and that and it's going to take time. We're going to go on a bloody journey and all this pish. I don't want it. I want a guy with a bit of an aura about him, a man manager, and I want us to go back to basics, Carney. Football doesn't need to be complicated. Go back to basics. And like I say, I think there's decent players in amongst that, Carney. It's hard to judge a lot of these players because I think they've been restrained to a point. So I think a decent man manager, and we'll obviously discuss potential managers coming in, I think could get a tune out of some of these players. I really do, because there is decent players there. But I do not want a project manager. How they come up with Ancelotti and Russell Martin at the start gives me the fear in terms of that's what they thought we would do for Rangers. So I'm hoping they've learned, but they need to deliver, Carney, because as I say, saying that in a bit of paper, an open letter to us is all good, but shows it. Because if they get it wrong again, how do we trust them going forward?
As an open letter to the fans go, it's one that I welcomed, mate. When I read it, I went, I very much welcome that. I really do. They have admitted that they got it wrong, and they are saying to us that they need to build their trust again. That's what I took from it. The bit that stood out for everybody was that they think they're going to be heavily involved in the recruitment process for the new manager, but they didn't really take full responsibility away from Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell, because at the same time they took away, they kind of gave them it back by saying that they're building with them going forward for the future. There's no doubt that in my opinion, they've underestimated the job at hand here. They've underestimated the size of it. They've probably underestimated the size of the football club as well, and just what it means to so many people. They will know now. There's absolutely no doubt. But maybe I'm being too kind, but I don't think they'll be particularly happy with things. I don't think they'll be kind of walking about shrugging their shoulders thinking, it doesn't matter, we'll just move on to the next one. I think they'll be hurting at this because this damages their business plan. This damages what they intended to do with this football club. So they'll not be happy about the situation, and yeah, it's a quick learning curve for them, I feel, to maybe not quick enough, but to just realise what's actually at hand here. I don't think they can say much more than what they did say. It's one of those ones where you're like, right, well, you've admitted it now. And they, as you mentioned with Thelwell and Stewart, having serious scrutiny around them, mate. I don't think there's any doubt that there's scrutiny around the two of them. But not only they two, but this appointment has to go well for the owners, because the attention will turn to the owners. But the owners even making that comment and within the open letter that they are going to be heavily involved in the recruitment, they have put themselves out there now. People don't forget that. The internet doesn't forget. We all know the internet does not forget anything. And they've pretty much said that they are going to be partly responsible for the appointment of the new manager. As you mentioned about a project manager, about Ancelotti and Martin, this is the philosophy I think they've been led to believe is what's going to work. And I think Thelwell's part of that. I'm not going to lie. I think he's part of that. This is what we're going to do. I would be shocked now if we go for a project manager. I think it'll be a different approach from them. I really do think it will be almost a full 180 on the type of manager that we'll go for now. And yeah, it's now talk is cheap, as you say. It's now time to really get things correct. Yeah, absolutely get things correct. But as an open letter as it went, I'll take it, and I think it was welcomed and it was required. Let's not lie, it was required. We'll speak about Thelwell and Stewart now. Now, I think Thelwell can consider himself very lucky that this didn't go on any longer, because I think the noise would have been so bad that he would have to have gone as well. However, I think Patrick Stewart's closer to the door than he is. Patrick Stewart's a very unimpressive guy. He's not somebody that I particularly look up to in terms of leading the club, in terms of making the right decisions. We were told that we would hear more from them as a leadership team. If you're going to have a head coach, then it's kind of responsible for all three, really, to make public appearances, interviews, whatever it may be. Not appearances, but to make it clear to fans, I have an open communication with the fans, which he hasn't done. He's not covered himself in glory with pretty much anything that I've seen so far. He is a guy that I think is out his depth in that job. So I don't know how long Patrick Stewart will be about. I'm hoping not too much longer. I generally wouldn't lose any sleep at all if it was announced that he'd left the club. Thelwell's the one now, mate, that he has to abandon his already very questionable recruitment strategy. And I mean not just the players, I mean also his backroom staff, because he has been hiring his pals and his son. So we're going through these recruitment processes and whatever else. There's no doubt, Ali, that this is absolutely pinnacle for Thelwell to get this correct. Because if we appoint a new manager and if it doesn't work, he will also have to leave the football club.
No, he does. And we heard for Thelwell 3-4 weeks ago in that interview, Carney. He came out.
Russell Martin's a great coach.
Just about to say that. He came out and told us how Russell Martin was one of the most promising young coaches, or I don't know what it was, upcoming coaches. Told us why he went to English market, because he would bring these players up, and I mean, I laugh saying this, they would hit the ground running in terms of, because they're just coming up the road, which is easier said than done. And you know where we're sitting now, so I laugh at that when he said that. But he's got to get it right, Carney. He has to get it right, because he's a guy that, along with Patrick Stewart, ultimately will. I know the owners will rubber stamp it. Will hire the next Rangers coach or manager, whatever you want to say. And he's a guy that's responsible for bringing players in on the park too. And so far out of what we've brought in, it's hard to judge, because I'd love to see them under a proper manager. But there's a few suspect signings in there already. You look at them. You look at the boy Fernandes at the back, $3.5 million, not been seen, not even been on the bench. Chermetti up front, £8 million. Suspect because he came from Everton. He paid $15 million for him. Bringing his son in, as you say, Carney. Yeah, he's a guy that if he gets this wrong, he'll be the next one out. And Patrick Stewart, you talk about, no belief in that guy. He looks as if he's way out his depth. And I know he's been at Man United, etc. But Man United, let's be honest, weren't a very well-run club either. It's not as if he was coming from Man United, they were thriving and he's come up the road. But he looks majorly out of his depth, Patrick Stewart. When he came in, talked about doing a full top-to-bottom review of the football club. Never really heard whatever happened about that.
No idea what happened to that. So, independent review. Yes, no clue what that
we
went.
don't know what the outcome of that was. So he talks a lot.
I doubt the outcome was, the technical director, you have to employ your son. That's what's to happen. I very much doubt that was the way that it was meant to go.
Yeah, so it just doesn't fill me with confidence, Patrick Stewart. Even when I see him the way he talks, he just doesn't. It doesn't fit the bill for me. But Thelwell's, he isn't thin ice, Carney. He's got to get this right, because if he goes down another route of some bloody project manager, that the fans won't have it. They won't have it at all. So the next manager is massive in terms of who they bring in. It really is. And they've got to go back to basics for me. But yes, it's going to be a very interesting week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, Carney, because we kick off against Dundee United a week on Saturday. And will we have a permanent manager? We don't know. We really don't know yet. So it's a big week for us in terms of the football club.
I would I would be shocked if there's not a manager in place by the time Dundee
I think
comes
we
around.
need to have a manager in place.
I would be absolutely shocked if there isn't one in place by then. I think it will move pretty quickly. I'm not going to lie. I think the recruitment process will already been underway. I think if I'm going to believe that the new owners are worth the new custodians of the club are worth their salt in any form, then I would like to think that you knew that this day was coming and it was coming pretty soon, and the feelers would have been out quite early on to think, right, who could we go and get should this happen? And that I believe that'll already have happened. Maybe that's naive of me, I don't really know, but I'm pretty confident they were heavily involved in the sacking. Again, I know nothing here. This is just my opinion. They would have been heavily involved in the sacking because Thelwell doubled down on him. And I think Thelwell's the ones that convinced the new owners, by the way, no, we need to stick at this. We need to stick at this. By his comments, as you said, that he made, he was one of the most promising upcoming coaches. You're absolute hole, Mr. Thelwell. You're absolute hole. It was never going to work. It was never ever going to work. So he is very much one he's in the firing line, mate. There's absolutely no doubt that all these things can be resolved and they can go away very quickly. Should we make the right appointment? Should we start winning football games and at least building something that the fans can believe in? So he has got the chance to rectify this. Hence why I don't think it's been a clean swipe across the board. Whether Patrick Stewart's going to hang about or not, I'm not really sure. But I think the fact that the owners in that open letter pretty much gave them a telling off by saying that they're going to be heavily involved in the recruitment process for the new manager, but at the same time gave them a vote of confidence. It's a very much a nudge to them that you're also on the owner's radar and they are very much keeping a close eye on what's happening. And I think you'll probably see them being more involved now. At the end of the day, they're the custodians. It is their money. They're the ones that have to get things correct in order for this to become a sustainable business for them. So they'll have to make tough decisions should it come to that. So yeah, I think moving forward, Thelwell and Stewart are on very, very, very shaky ice. But the appointment of the next manager will either make them or break them, I think. And as I say, with Stewart, there's nothing about the guy, and with Thelwell, yeah, appointing his son, paying $8 million for a striker he paid $15 million for. It's all these things that just don't look good. It really is all these things that don't look good. But the scrutiny will continue to be on them until we start winning football games under a new manager. On to the new manager, mate. Before we discuss who we want it to be, if you do have a name in that regard, what you've said and what everybody's saying, Rangers cannot afford another prospect manager and an ideology manager, a manager with this philosophy of how it plays and we shall not move. Do you know what I want, Ali, more than anything else? A proper leader, like a figurehead guy to look at, and a manager that will adapt, that will change things. Do you see that? I don't think that's a great deal to ask for. Just, hang on a minute. We're not really dominating this game. We should be. Tell you what, I'm going to do this to make a difference. And yeah, I don't think that's too difficult. I really honestly don't think that's too difficult to ask for. But my question will be, and it's one that I starred, and it is one that I think will come up. It was asked by Great Wall. Rangers should never have a head coach again. Do you agree or disagree with that? Should Rangers bin this head coach thing and move back to being a manager? Like, we've tried head coaches before, didn't really go well. I'm old school, mate, with the fact that I like a manager. I like the Rangers manager. Hence why, even when I'm talking about Russell Martin, I was saying manager and not head coach. What's your take on that? Should Rangers abandon that model?
It's a title, really, if you think about it.
It isn't, though. But it isn't, not really, though. It isn't.
Well, we've got a director of football who runs the football side of it in terms of bringing players in, managing all that, and Russell Martin just does on the park. That's what that is. I'm very old school in terms of brought up under Walter Smith, and he's a manager. And he's a guy
Walter, you've got Dick, Dick, you've got McLeish, you've got
and they're guys you looked at and thought, that's all right. They'll make sure everything's all right. They'll take us on, and that's what we need. I use the word figurehead. That's what we need. Somebody with a wee bit of an aura about him, A guy we can get behind, Carney. A guy we can believe in. A guy that's a good man manager. A guy that can adapt. Back to basics at points. That's what we need. And it's not hard. You look at, you talked about Russell Martin in terms of he didn't build bridges with the Rangers support when he came in. His very first interview, words, etc., was, oh, the fans don't want me here. And it wasn't building a bridge. It wasn't getting you going as a supporter. Steven Gerrard, when he came into Rangers, the first thing he said, and it got everyone, and it was the tagline they all went with, was, let's go. Yeah. And all of us as support went, no, let's fucking go. And you see what happened in terms of what happened with Gerrard. So, it's got to be a guy that's got something about him. Understands Scottish football as well, which is a big thing for me, understanding this league. A lot of these guys for England, Russell Martin probably did look up here as, if it's only Scotland, it's a bit of a diddy league. It's not really. It's quite a unique league to be in sometimes, and especially a manager of Rangers and Celtic as well up here. You need a certain character to manage these football clubs, and especially Rangers. So that's the type of guy I'm looking for, Carney. And obviously you'll probably come on to who we want as manager as well, or who we think maybe it.
Yeah, I think it's crucial for us to have basically almost a complete opposite from what Russell Martin is. The guy doesn't need to be like tried and tested, but he needs to have some form of kind of gravitas about him. Needs to have some form of inspiration from him. A guy that's going to be able to not only inspire his players, but to inspire the fans. And it is so unbelievably cliche, and I get it. But standards, man, absolute standards of how to be, how to act within yourself, how to present yourself, how to hold yourself as the figurehead of our football club. Like, that is something that you're going to need to understand, is that this means more to you, more to everybody else sitting in the stadium and all around the world for that matter than you standing on that touchline. It means so much more to them, and you're just the focal point of it all, if that makes sense. So just, someone with a bit of absolute, just demands respect. I really do. On to who we think it's going to be, mate. The easy links were to make, well, Steven Gerrard, and for Sean Dyche as well. Sean Dyche, reported by Chris Jackett at Rangers Review, has apparently ruled himself out of the job, which I think is very much put Steven Gerrard in the front running for the job. There's a number of names, Ali, that kind of will get cropped up from Scotland. You've got Dennis McInnes, Stephen Robinson. They are the two names in Scotland that are being floated, and they are just names really, literally, at this point. But there's a few reports saying that Rangers would be open to Gerrard returning if Gerrard wants it, and whatever else reported by some of the mainstream media. Can you pick someone? Is there anyone in particular that you think, yes, Rangers should go and do what they want to go and get him? Where do you stand with that?
It's difficult because you look like it's out there at the moment, Carney. And you've went through most of them, to be honest, in terms of potential managers for Rangers. But of the guys floated about, Muscat obviously got into the last two with Clermont. Yeah. I know I think he's got 4 games left in is it China he manages in?
Japan, I think. Is it Japan?
Is it Japan or China? One up, yeah. So he's got.
Somebody in the chat will tell us.
Yeah. But I know he's got 4 games left, which would mean you wouldn't be getting him for 6 weeks or whatever it is. And I don't think we've got 6 weeks to wait to bring somebody in with the games we've got coming up. Dundee United at home, Kilmarnock at home, Brann away. I think we've got Hibs away midweek. And ultimately, we've got the League Cup semi-final against Celtic in less than a month as well. So, there you go, China. So there's
somebody said Japan.
Somebody said Japan as well.
We're not closer to this. More people said China, so we'll go with China.
I thought it was China, but I'll whatever it is. But yeah, the two guys, and Stephen Robinson's a good shout. I've seen him in the chat there. He's done very well with St Mirren, and he probably needs to go to another level, Stephen Robinson, in terms of where he is with St Mirren. He's done well. The two guys I would look at, Carney, and one guy will probably upset some folk in the comments, but I think you need to go over it. The first guy, Steven Gerrard, I think he commands. He's got an aura about him. He's been here. He understands it. Yeah, he's not been great in terms of his last two managerial positions when he was out in the United Emirates, whatever it was, and he was at Aston Villa. Would he want to come back in terms of it's a completely different Rangers, there's different owners, etc. There's money there again, but would he want more control in terms of what Russell Martin had, in terms of players coming in? I think we would get behind Steven Gerrard because he's got that. He delivered 55 for us. Probably should have won more though, Karen, if you want to criticise it a wee bit. We should have won a treble that year, maybe won a couple more cups. But he's got that aura about him. And I think if he brought a good backroom staff in, I've seen Gary Mack, Jermaine Defoe been interviewed about coming back up the road. He would tick the boxes for me. I think he would take us as support on a journey as well, Carney. I really do think he would. And does he want it? I know that Rio Ferdinand podcast went out tonight and there's been a snippet from him saying the right club comes in, has to be a club that wants to win things. I mean, it was ticking boxes in terms of what we are as a football club. I would take him back. I would take him back in a heartbeat, Carney. He's the last Rangers manager I've had that I really believed in. I really believed he was going to do something, and ultimately he did. And the one other guy, and like I say, folk in the comments might have a go, but because he knocked us back in 2017, but 2017, Carney, you knew what we were as a football club back then, an absolute shit show. Derek McInnes. He always gets mentioned. He's done extremely well with Hearts. I think he would come and organise us, Karen. And we say all the time, he understands Scottish football. A lot of folk might go, but he's managed at Aberdeen and Kilmarnock, etc. But I think he would be a good Rangers manager. And I always remember Walter Smith years ago when they asked him who should be the next Rangers manager, and he said Derek McInnes, and that's come from Walter Smith. And Walter Smith's a guy, Carney, that is a hero, a god to us. He is Mr. Rangers, Walter Smith. And when he speaks, you need to listen. And he said Derek McInnes. So he's one guy I would take as well, Derek McInnes. I would take him in a heartbeat as well. Between they two, that's the two I would take if I had it. But I know some guys in the chat will say, well, I'm not taking Derek McInnes because he's not back Rangers before. But come on, that was 2017. As I said, we were a shit show back then. But that is the two for me, Carney.
Snaky Bear, thank you very much for becoming a member of the channel. Very much appreciated. Thank you for the support. As you could all probably tell, I know some you were all looking at Ali as he was talking about Steven Gerrard. The smile on my face is hard to hide because the thought of Steven Gerrard coming back to my football club is extremely exciting to me. Generally, I would take Gerrard back in an absolute heartbeat. Gary Mack and whoever else he wants, Steve Davis, Defoe, whoever he wants to have with him, I'm not really bothered. Steven Gerrard is just he's just the guy that ticks every single box for me. Everything about him, his aura, the way he handles himself, the way he handles the media, the way that he was successful for us. And yes, Ali's right, should have been more successful. Some people say he left, some people say he was pushed. Obviously Steven Gerrard tinted glasses on. I believe if he was back properly, he would have stayed, but he wasn't. The Parks are the ones that didn't back him in that regard, and Gerrard chose to leave when the opportunity came to go to the Premier League. So I would take Steven Gerrard back, and even when he was talking, he's saying if the right club comes up, and whether it's because I just want to hear it, I just heard when Rangers give me a call again, I want to go back there, and that's all I heard. I was just like, bring him home, come on, let's do it all again. So in that regard, let's go again, genuinely. Derek McInnes, I genuinely don't think Rangers could get him. I'm not kidding on. I don't think Rangers could get him. I don't think.
No, I get that. Why would they want to come in terms of
Hearts?
Hearts is a really good club for him. in terms of what he's done, Carney. He's done brilliant at Hearts so far.
And I'm not saying anything against that idea of the appointment. I think Derek McInnes has probably worked his way up to probably merit being in the conversation regarding being the next Rangers manager. However, with how well Hearts have started this season, I can't see him turning into Hearts now and going, "She's later, boys. I'm away to Rangers." No matter if he is a Rangers fan or not, I just, as a football manager, I can't see him turning away from Hearts at this stage.
Yes, but and I don't think he won't tout himself for this at all to noise the Hearts fans up. He'll want Rangers to approach him, but if Rangers come along there, mate, to Derek McInnes with our new owners, etc., and went, "We're the guy you believe in to take Rangers to ultimately win the league next season," which I think, or whatever it is, it'd be a hard one to turn down, Carney. I know he's turned it down before, but there was reasons behind that. But I understand he's doing very well at Hearts. I think, as I say, I think Hearts are a great club for Derek McInnes to be at the moment. I think they're a good club, Hearts. They're up and coming. They've obviously got is it Tony Bloom behind them, etc. With finance. They want to try and break the old firm, which they've got a bloody good chance of doing this season. Would he want to try and see if he can do it this season? Because they've got a bloody great chance to at least finish second this season, Hearts. So it's up to Derek McInnes, but it's Glasgow Rangers, Carney. It's no disrespect to Hearts. It's Glasgow Rangers. We are way bigger than Hearts. And if they came and knocked on his door, ultimately it's up to him. But as I say, that's the two. Gerrard's the one that gets you. He really gets you going, Carney. I honestly think he would really galvanise the support. And if Steven Gerrard was in the dugout for Dundee United, it would be a full house. And everyone would be raring to go. But aye, that is my two, Carney. That is my two.
Yeah, just you know mine, mate. You knew mine before Martin was even sacked. I was like, get Gerrard back, man. Get him back. Big Al Majowski, 57. Thank you very much for coming a member as well. Very much appreciated. I think the time is more right now for Gerrard than ever. Not that he gets a free run at it this season, but the pressure on him is not going to be as if he was starting the season from fresh because of the state the Rangers are in. He's coming into a squad, which I think we've spoke about, that I don't think that, I'm not going to say that they're world beaters, but there's definitely more in that squad than a one each draw with Falkirk. There just is. There's definitely more in that squad. I think some of the players just need coached better and allowed to play football, allowed to express themselves the way they want to. So, yeah, I think if I had to pick one just now, it would be, I think Muscat will be in the chat for it. McInnes, Robinson, I get the shout for Robinson, I do. However, I see Robinson and Muscat more risks than what it would be to bring Gerrard back or to go and get McInnes. But I'd just say McInnes, I don't think he would leave. And if Rangers go and ask him and he says no again, then that is literally it. He will never be Rangers manager ever the rest of his life. So maybe he'll be pushed into that corner and he'll have to decide, well, I'm going to have to go now or else it's never going to happen for me. But yeah, Steven Gerrard, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this from, I cannot wait to see you on the touchline. I really cannot wait to see you there. That will do us for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. A much more positive podcast, I feel. Obviously, we're in the midst of an international break, but there's going to be news coming left, right, and centre. If anything does break or anything, we'll try our best to get back on. Of course, we will. But if not, we will speak to you on Friday for Club Live. We'll do a bit of a Q&A. Probably you can ask us about the time of Russell Martin as Rangers manager, and we can have a joke and a laugh about things. Or some try anyway. We'll at least try. But yeah, on Friday, and you never know, maybe some more solid rumours by the time Friday comes around. We just need to wait and see. For tonight, Alistair, thank you for joining me.
No problem. A more positive chat tonight. It's we need support. We need picked up, and if Rangers can announce a manager, I know you want Gerrard, can it really would lift the support. I know this podcast has dropped tonight with Rio Ferdinand and Fota putting two together and come up with 5. But it's, I mean, that was filmed a while ago, I'd imagine, a week or so. I don't know if it was filmed, but the words he's saying, you'd think point towards us, but it's up to our owners and Thelwell and bloody Patrick Stewart to get it right. So, yeah, I think there'll be quite a lot to go in this, Carney, but for me, we need a manager before Dundee United. I don't think we can let it run anymore. So, yes, by the time Friday comes along, it'll be interesting to see where the rumours are, etc. at that point. But no, good to speak tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I say we will be back on Friday. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, all the usual stuff. And yeah, as I say, we'll be back on Friday. We are Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. Let's go.